In November of 1942, the United States stood at a crossroads. Less than 1 year earlier, America had been pulled into World War II by force. Pearl Harbor had shattered isolation. The nation was angry, determined, but inexperienced. American factories were beginning to roar. Millions of men were being trained. But one critical question remained unanswered. Could the United States actually fight a modern war? The answer would come not in Europe, not in the Pacific, but in North Africa. This is the story of Operation Torch, America's first major offensive of World War II, and the moment the United States truly entered the global battlefield. When the United States entered World War II in December 1941, it faced an enemy that had been fighting for years. Germany had conquered most of Europe. Italy controlled much of the Mediterranean. Japan dominated the Pacific. The American military was large on paper, but untested in modern combat. Many officers had never commanded troops in battle. Many soldiers had never fired a weapon in anger. America needed experience, and it needed it fast. In 1942, Allied leaders debated their next move. The Soviet Union demanded a second front in Europe. Joseph Stalin wanted relief from the brutal fighting on the Eastern Front. But a direct invasion of France was impossible. American forces were not ready. British forces remembered the disaster of Dunkirk. Germany's Atlantic defenses were strong. A compromise was reached. Attack North Africa. It was a place where American forces could gain experience, weaken the Axis, and prepare for future invasions. That plan became Operation Torch. North Africa mattered more than it appeared. Control of the region meant control of the Mediterranean Sea, vital shipping routes, access to the Middle East, pressure on Axis forces in Europe. British forces were already fighting German and Italian troops in Egypt and Libya. If American forces landed in Morocco and Algeria, they could trap Axis armies between two Allied forces. On paper, it was logical. In reality, it was risky. North Africa was not controlled by Germany or Italy. It was controlled by Vichy France, a French government that collaborated with Nazi Germany. No one knew how French forces would react. Would they fight the Americans? Would they defect? Would they resist out of pride? The Allies planned anyway. Operation Torch would proceed, even if it meant fighting former allies. Operation Torch was enormous. It involved over 100,000 American and British troops, hundreds of ships, thousands of aircraft, landings across 3 separate regions. The targets were Casablanca, Morocco; Oran, Algeria; Algiers, Algeria. It would be the largest amphibious operation in history until Normandy. For the United States, it would be a first. On the night of November 7, 1942, American soldiers stood on the decks of transport ships. Many were seasick. Many were afraid. Most were silent. Some wrote letters home. Others stared into the darkness. They did not know what awaited them. They only knew that history was about to begin. At dawn on November 8th, American troops landed near Casablanca. They faced unexpected resistance. French coastal guns fired. Naval battles erupted offshore. Troops landed under fire. Confusion reigned. Many American units became lost. Communications failed. Leadership was tested immediately. This was no training exercise. This was war. Near Oran, American forces attempted a daring maneuver. They tried to seize the harbor intact. It failed. French defenders opened fire. Ships were damaged. Men were killed. The lesson was clear. Modern war punished mistakes instantly. At Algiers, things went differently. Local resistance groups helped the Allies. French commanders hesitated. Fighting was limited. Within 2 days, a ceasefire was negotiated. French forces in North Africa switched sides. Operation Torch had succeeded politically, even if militarily it had been messy. With North Africa secured, American troops moved east toward Tunisia. There, they encountered a hardened enemy, German veterans of the Afrika Korps. These men had fought the British for years. They were skilled, disciplined, and confident. The Americans were not. In February 1943, German forces struck at Kasserine Pass. American units collapsed under pressure. Poor leadership, weak coordination, inexperience. The defeat shocked the U.S. Army, but it also forced change. Commanders were replaced. Training improved. Tactics evolved. America was learning, painfully, how to fight. After Kasserine, the U.S. Army changed rapidly. Leadership became more aggressive. Coordination with air power improved. Logistics became more efficient. Generals like George S. Patton emerged. Confidence slowly grew. The same soldiers who had stumbled at Kasserine would later fight across Europe. By spring 1943, Allied forces closed in on Tunisia. British troops advanced from the east. American forces pushed from the west. Axis troops were trapped. Supplies ran out. Morale collapsed. In May 1943, over 250,000 German and Italian soldiers surrendered. It was a victory on the scale of Stalingrad, but far less remembered. Operation Torch achieved more than territory. It gave America combat experience, proved the U.S. could fight a modern war, secured North Africa, opened the Mediterranean, set the stage for Sicily and Italy. Most importantly, it transformed the American army. For the soldiers, Torch was unforgettable. They faced fear, confusion, a loss, learning under fire. Many were barely out of high school. Some never returned home. Their sacrifice built the foundation for future victories. Without Torch, there is no Sicily, no Italy, no Normandy, no liberation of Europe. It was not perfect. It was not clean, but it was necessary. Operation Torch is often overshadowed, but it represents something critical. The moment America stopped preparing for war and started fighting it, it was the beginning of America's transformation into a global military power. Operation Torch was America's trial by fire. Mistakes were made. Lives were lost. Lessons were learned. And from those lessons, victory was built. North Africa was not the end of the war, but it was the beginning of America's role in winning it. Closing words. History remembers victories, but it is the first step, the uncertain, dangerous first step, that often matters most. Operation Torch was that step, and it changed the course of World War II.